Yesterday, America chose selfishness over everything else. Yes, as a nation, we chose bigotry, hatred, sexism, greed, all those different things, but ultimately, we chose selfishness. Hey everyone, my name's Christian Verstappen, and I have a lot to say about many things. I want to talk about how we got here and what to do moving forward. So, if you're watching this, I'm sure you're well aware, or maybe you're hearing it the first time through this video somehow. I don't know how you couldn't know, but Donald Trump has decidedly won the presidency of the United States and will be sworn in as the 47th president. I don't really know why he doesn't go back to being the 45th president again, because he's still one person. It's not like, but whatever the case. The president is more of a title, so maybe that's why it works, because it's like, but yeah. Um, in any case, I want to talk about, well, like I said, how we got here and all of that. I am, as I'm sure many of you are, shocked, honestly. We thought we saw incredible enthusiasm from the base and just from people in general for Harris. It seemed like many people were just fed up with Trump, even people who were more right-leaning. There were Republican, never Trumpers. I talked to people here in my state, in Florida, in my county, which is pretty damn red. I talked with people who were like, what are they called? Like my the guy who did the oil change on my car, mechanics. That's what they're called. I talked to my mechanic who told me I'm not voting for that orange Oompa Loompa. Uh, there have been many people that I knew personally or otherwise who did vote for Trump who were never going to do so again. And yet, he won in a landslide. And not just won. He didn't just win the electoral vote and win the presidency like he did back in 2016. This man won the popular vote. That doesn't happen. That's not a thing that normally happens with Republicans because they're generally unpopular with the vast majority of people. So, why? How? What happened? What went wrong? How did we get here? Well, I think it's important to understand that question, to look back to where it all started. 2008. President Barack Hussein Obama was voted and was he got the popular vote, he got the electoral college, he won the presidency. People really loved the message of yes, we can. Change is, we're going to have this incredible change. Younger person in office, new blood, all this different stuff. And to quote someone, I don't know their name or anything like that, but I heard this person say in a documentary who was voting for Trump, I voted because yes, we can, and no, we didn't. There were some policies that Obama put forward and that he accomplished that were really good. He, of course, fixed the economy, which is the best thing, by the way. What Trump is going to be going into is the best thing that a Republican can go into. It was this way with Obama, where he came in, Bush fucked up the economy. Obama came in, he was blamed for it, fixed it. Trump came in, said, oh, it's a great economy under Trump. It was Obama's economy that he inherited. He fucked it up. Biden came in, fixed it. Now Trump's going to come in, and people are going to say, Trump's great for the economy. Because what many people don't understand is that it takes time, a long time, for things to happen. There were measures that I was voting for on the ballot that didn't take place in my state until 2026. There are many policies in place that will begin benefiting people next year or the year after. because it takes time for things to happen, for things to change. And it's a lot easier, a lot harder to change things in a positive direction than to destroy things and hurt them bring them in a negative direction. It's far easier to take large steps backwards than it is to take positive steps forward. Small steps forward, even. But I do want to be clear. While I am annoyed with the people who refused to vote for Harris, and they either voted for Jill Stein or wrote in somebody else or whatever it was because of Gaza or some other issue, they didn't think she was going to be much better than Biden, which she herself said, of course, in her interview, she couldn't think of anything different that she would do compared to Biden. Therein lies the problem. What ultimately was the reason she lost? Liberalism. So let's go back to Obama's terms, I was saying. He won in 2008 and 2012, and people were ecstatic for him. He was charismatic. And he still is, charismatic. He was a phenomenal speaker. He was somebody who seemed to really embolden change, positive change, progressive change. And we thought, as a nation, and much of the world did as well, we're set. We have a black president. We just legalized gay marriage. We're set. Everything's great. And then 2016 happened. And what happened in 2016? Liberals happened. Liberals and people who represented the left and progressive ideology, as it were, got really, really smug. They gave Trump so much free advertising, it was insane. Constantly making fun of him, or otherwise. There's a saying, of course, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Trump seemed to embolden that pretty well, seemed to be a good example of that mindset. But the seeds of this were being sown before he was elected. In the mid-2010s, in an effort to be more progressive and continue to make positive change, liberals started doing something really stupid. Talking down to the average person. Legitimately making men, specifically cis white men, think that they had to apologize for being white or being men, or that having any attraction to or approaching a girl for a date, hitting on her, anything like that, made you sexist and misogynistic, and all these other mentalities that existed. And the right took that and really played into the persecution complex that many people on the right had. And I know because I fell for it. I never personally voted for Trump. When I went to my polling station, I was going to vote independent, but I was at the wrong precinct. Either way, though, the narrative was there. Smugness of liberals talking down to the average person who just simply doesn't understand gave ceded ground for the right to swoop in and say, we'll make everything better. It's their fault. And of course, not just the smug liberals' fault, and it was their fault, let's be clear, but it's minorities' fault. It's women's fault. It's this and that and all these people's fault. God forbid we should look at actual systemic issues and see why things are the way they are. A lot of liberals, most liberals, if we're honest, had a very holier-than-thou mentality. You see, there was this strong notion throughout the mid 2010s that, or early 2010s, I should say, that if you didn't agree with the progressive narrative, you were a bad person. And there was this moral superiority that many progressives felt that they had, and were very vocal about feeling like they had it over people who just didn't know better. If you follow my content, or anybody like me, you are probably familiar with, political and social issues. You follow this stuff, and you might look at this and think, how could this have ever happened? Even in the first place with Trump. Many people thought that. How could Trump have won? Many people don't pay attention to the social and political issues going on of the day. And when they do, they hear it from a dude bro podcaster who is apolitical, but just casually endorses Trump. Joe Rogan is one of the most popular podcast, I believe, in the world. And he just had Elon on. He had Trump on. He endorsed people like this. He pushed the anti-vax narrative. Because these people matter. And I don't care how many people tell you, or me, that, well, I care about their policies. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. The majority of people do not give a fuck about anybody's policies. They don't. It is a popularity contest. That is what it is. It is not about what they can do for you and the country. It is about how they make you feel. That is all that it's about. That's all it's ever been about. It is not about policy. Now, let's be clear. Both in 2016 and now, racism and sexism absolutely played a part. Sexism, of course, in both instances, both against Hillary Clinton and against Kamala Harris. You see it even how people will continue to refer to as Hillary and Kamala, but they won't say Clinton or Harris. I've talked about this before briefly, but it is a common thing that people will do where they won't refer to a woman by her last name because it, like, I don't know, takes some formality out of her or something. I think it's stupid. I always thought it was, like, kind of, it meant more to refer to somebody as their first name rather than their last name. But, I understand in the world of, like, professionalism and stuff, yeah, you refer to, people are generally referred to as their last name. So let's be clear that those things 100% play a part, and I'm not downplaying that at all. There are many people who voted for this guy both times, potentially all 3 times, because they hate women. We have seen people, now that Trump has won, we have seen people saying, all right, now we can drop the facade and just admit that Project 2025 is the agenda. We have seen people saying, you can go online and see people saying, your body, my choice, forever. It is selfishness, it is bullying, and it's just being an asshole that many of these people revel in. And what does the average American want? Because I want to be clear, I am extremely disappointed in this country and how we have moved to the right because of this. Every single state and everything, the entire country moved to the right compared to what it was. 15 million people who voted for Biden did not vote for Harris. 15 million. That is insane. And I'm going to be real with you. The average American, I don't believe, is a racist, misogynistic fascist. I don't. They voted that way 100%. And many of them are. But I think that the average American legitimately just thinks Trump was better for the economy. Trump's going to lower grocery prices, going to lower gas prices. What's funny is when we look at things like the tariffs, which Harris really should have. I mean, here's the thing. In the confines of how a campaign is run, Harris did a great job. The energy, the turnout, the people coming to her rallies versus Trump was insane. But people at the end of the day, while I believe that selfishness is what won, ultimately, I think it's important to understand that everybody, you, me, all of us, are self-interested. That does not mean we are selfish. Many people who voted for Trump, and overall, again, Trump winning is, because of selfishness. But many people, everybody, is just self-interested. How are you going to affect me? That's what somebody looks at as the president. It wasn't Gaza. While I, again, am annoyed at the people who did protest votes by not voting or voting for somebody else, it wasn't that. It wasn't Jill Stein or any other third party. It was it's liberalism. This idea that, oh, we're going to work within the system and the system's fine and trust the system and system, like all this shit, reach across the aisle. Trump is not what America is. Trump is not what the Republican Party is. No, Trump is exactly what America is. And Trump is absolutely what the Republican Party is. As an aggregate, as a nation, we proved that. Being a bully, having enough money, those are the things that leads to genuine power. That is the message that we have sent as a nation. The right has been playing this game for a long time. And there haven't been people like myself or others much bigger than me who have been making content in a progressive direction without talking down to those who aren't already on board with us for very long. It was like, I think 2019 or so, 2018, that what's now known as BreadTube kind of started, and now it's pretty much gone. But it's pretty grim. I'm not going to lie to you. It could get really bad. If Trump does the things that he has been saying he wants to do that are outlined in Project 2025, if those things actually happen, things are going to get really bad for a lot of people. And I think that the average American, even the average American who voted for him, doesn't realize what they voted for. I don't think they notice how bad the tariffs are going to be if they happen. We'll assume these things are going to happen for the remainder of this little piece. This point I'm making here. I don't think they realize what deportation of millions of immigrants, or even just a million, however many it is, I don't think they realize what that's going to look like. And people have compared that to, Holocaust and ghettos and stuff like that, which in concentration camps, which I agree, that is a fair comparison. But I think another fair comparison is the Trail of Tears. Another very dark moment from my personal least favorite president, at least in history. But people, on average, again, the popular vote, would rather women lose their rights even more, LGBTQ community people lose their rights, many possibly having to go back into the closet, which is, of course, what they want. I think there is a bit of a silver lining here. It is true that if the things that Trump does, if he does the things he says he's going to, we're in for a real rough time. And I don't know if it's only going to last 4 years. It could last a hell of a lot longer. Many people could lose their access to medical care. Which does affect some of his base, by the way, like how they have quietly been saying and been a little bit more open about how they're wanting to go after Medicaid, specifically medical care for older people, which again is a lot of his base. Why they're going after that, I don't understand, but whatever. Fascism doesn't really make sense. And that's part of a silver lining here. Fascism does eventually burn itself out. But there's also the reality that I don't think that our country, the United States of America, really any country in the world, is geared enough for fascism. Many people on the right have either alluded to or have openly talked about this concept, the day of the rope, which is essentially this idea where the majority of people will kind of wake up almost like they're sleeper agents and just turn on illegal immigrants, gay people, communists, etc. But I think the reality is most people aren't going to go for that. I think there's a few things. Even if it gets really bad, I think many people who did vote for Trump are going to eventually realize, oh shit, this is what we voted for. Yeah, this is really bad. And we could have a really great reaction, if we still even have a democracy left, later down the road. There's also the possibility that none of this happens. None of the horrible things he wants to do happen, because what the right wants more than anything is to hold on to power, and they will realize that, hey, look how much Roe v. Wade fucked them over. They don't want to see that kind of thing happen again, and so they will scale back on some of the more extreme positions they have. There's also a possibility they go through with it, and in a couple years, this all burns itself out. But I'm not going to lie to you, even if that does happen, and it does burn itself out, that bad thing that happens is still happening. People losing their rights and access to medical care and all these different things. I've talked about this before, but I have friends and family who are LGBTQ plus. Minority friends, minority race friends. I don't know any illegal immigrants that I know of, but that's part of the thing. A lot of times people are illegal immigrants and you don't even know, because it doesn't even really matter. Do I think that Biden would have had a better shot? Absolutely not. No, he was cooked. He was cooked from the jump. He really was. I don't think he had a shot. What I do think is that if in 2016 the Dems didn't hamper Bernie Sanders, I think we could be in a much better timeline. But that's not the way it is. People want change. We had Obama. People didn't get the change they were wanting. We had Trump. People didn't get the change they were wanting. And there were a lot of other factors that led up to ultimately, Biden winning. But Biden was status quo Democrat. He had some really good domestic policy. He has done a great job as far as bringing union sentiment back into the country. That's one of the best things he's done. He's been really good on stuff like that. Not foreign policy, but domestic policy. He's been great. And on foreign policy, if you think Biden was bad or Harris would have been as bad, Trump's going to be a hell of a lot worse. I don't know for a fact, because I can't see the future, if Palestinian people will be completely wiped off the face of the earth. Trump has been saying he would finish the job. And we know that doesn't mean a ceasefire. That doesn't mean stopping Netanyahu. We know what they mean by finish it. So it could get a lot worse. And there's a reason why dictators are very happy that he won, and we're hoping he would win. Meanwhile, democratic leaders and countries are horrified. American chauvinism is not a good thing, but it is true that in many cases we are the main characters of the world, and that what happens to our country affects everybody. Climate change is going to get worse. Many things are going to suffer. But the Democrats, or whoever, really need to get it through their head that we need to be talking to people. You are talking to people. People don't have faith in the systems anymore. They want somebody that's going to come in and tear everything up. And now when they see how Trump does that, that's not going to be good. But it's been said many times before, and I agree that we are in what's called late stage capitalism. I think it's just like how feudalism eventually, went out of style. Capitalism is too. And right now we have the choice between us of socialism, or at least some kind of social democracy, or fascism. And right now, you see the direction we're going. I don't want all of this to just be doom and gloom. I've been scrolling through Twitter and other things, and I've been seeing many other, many horrific posts and stuff that people have been saying, and Reddit and all these different things. But I do want to leave with some positivity. One thing that I hope can be understood from this is that complacency leads to these kind of outcomes. Not saying that people were complacent with Harris. I don't think we were. I think many people, myself included, were very enthusiastic and didn't think we're guaranteed this, but that she seemed like she was going to do some real good. And we're very excited for her. But in any aspect of your life, now is the time where the best thing to do is to focus on what you can control. The election is over. You can't control the outcome. I will give a point to even liberals, by the way, in regards to the fact that we aren't claiming it was stolen. We're not making plans to siege the Capitol because we know we lost fair and square, and we will accept that accordingly. It fucking sucks. But we lost. We even lost the popular vote. There is no "it was stolen" rhetoric, because it wasn't. We lost. And we lost again because of liberalism. Because the Democrats decided, rather than talk about things that would actually help people, it was better to capitulate to the right and to move further to the right. We just had to get those Liz Cheney voters, those never-Trumpers. They were so important. 15 million people who voted for Biden did not vote for Harris. That's not to say all of them voted for Trump instead, but those are 15 million people who didn't feel compelled to vote for her, weren't inspired enough. 15 million. It's a lot. That's a lot. But again, controlling what you can. Please take care of yourself, your mind, your body, your health. Make friends. Try to get along with others. Understand a big thing that we were lacking, not me personally, but people on the left were lacking in the lead up to Trump's first win, was empathy and understanding from people they disagreed with. Understand that the average voter probably legitimately just thinks Trump's going to be better for the economy. I'm really sorry to tell you this, but the average voter is a fucking moron. They are. I was. You were until you started paying attention to politics. It's how it goes. The average person is uninformed and purely votes on vibes. I don't care what people say about policy, it's all about vibes. And you can't control that. But what you can control is how you react. Take ownership of things about yourself. Maybe things you want to improve, things you want to do more of, do less of. Maybe you're like me and you've been working on getting in shape, and in my case, I've been plateauing the past couple of years. Wherever you're at with that, maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want to pick up a new hobby. Maybe you want to become politically active in the community, which is a great thing to do. Don't allow yourself to fall into this spiral where you feel like it's just over. People have lived through horrific times. There have been many times where people have thought It's the end of the world, and yet the sun rose the next day. I'm not saying it's going to get really bad. It's not going to get really bad. It is. It very well could. But I am saying that you're stronger than you think you are, and you can get through it. We can come out of this better on the other side. You can. And I hope you do. As for me, I'm going to continue doing what I've always set out to do here: inspire, encourage, and entertain. I'm really going to try to focus more on, media analysis. I'm going to be revamping the rambling reviews style that I had done before, and doing that in a bit of a more kind of professionalized way with actual like imagery for what I'm talking about and stuff, and that should be good. My views and such will of course show through that because it's who I am. But that's something I plan to do for this channel. And then when I have big things that I want to do a more pointed video on something like this, or just something else that I feel compelled to talk about, I'll do that as well. But whatever you or anybody else wants to do, please take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones, your friends. It could get really bad. But being worried is not going to do anything. Worrying yourself and being sad and angry. You can be angry, be sad, be disappointed. I am. I'm all those things. But don't give up hope that we can still fight for a better tomorrow. And fight is the important word there. Freedom is not guaranteed. Never let anybody tell you it can't happen here. I genuinely believe that, especially after the insurrection attempt on Jan 6 of 2021, that should have been the end of it. But how many that should have been the end of it did Trump have? No. It wasn't. And this doesn't end with him either. A big thing that the left, not the left, but the Democrats really struggled with was making it seem like Trump was the villain of the Republican Party and that once he was gone, everything would be better. And that's just not the way it is. There are systemic issues deep within the Republican Party and within the Democratic Party as well that need to be dealt with. And I hope that we can. We just might have to tough it out for a while before then. So, as always, these are just my thoughts. Let me know what yours are in the comments down below. Follow me on social media for more. Subscribe, ring the bell to stay up to date. Leave a like if you like. And if not, I hope you find something you do like. Take care of each other out there, guys. Peace and love.